Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
A great example of this is Character AI. Character AI allows you to easily create and interact with a variety of characters, including 25 or more personalities across categories, from skilled helpers like fitness coaches to icons throughout history like Socrates and Grace Hopper. These characters have expressive voices that have been built leveraging Amazon's in-house TTS technology.
You already heard from Dave how Alexa sounds today, but here's the preview of what's going to come early next year.
I love The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It depicts the view from his asylum room at Saint-Rémy-de-Provence just before sunrise.
Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast. As you could tell from our prelude today, we're going to be delving back into some new things coming to the A-Lady here in the near future on the Amazon Echo line of devices. We're going to go take a peek back at that Amazon event in September, some additional nuggets we can extract from that actually coincide with some of the very things that I was hoping and spoke about back in episode 258 that I was hoping was on the horizon. Back in that episode, we talked about some Google announcements, some Meta or Facebook announcements with AI, the talk about personas and different things like that. And I theorized, I think that's where Amazon's going to go with the A-Lady. I think that's going to be a thing. And today we're going to revisit that topic and see if that is true or not, and along with potentially some other things connected with those announcements. But first off, I'd like to welcome our new listeners to the podcast. My name is David Ward. I'm an assistive technology instructor with the New Vision program at Goodwill, based here in Southwest Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains in the city of Roanoke. So it's good to have you all with us this week and our returning listeners as well. And because of both of you, we have well over 117,000 listens to our podcast. So that's awesome. Well, before we delve into this in any depth again, this is kind of part 2 of looking at that Amazon event and seeing some of the things that we thought were going to come actually be announced. Before we do all of that, we're going to go to a brief message about our podcast, and then we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision. Hello again. Welcome back to the podcast. As I mentioned, this is kind of part 2 of delving into the Amazon event from September 2023 about our Amazon Echoes, getting smarter, getting that AI, getting that conversational style. And if you didn't get a chance to hear some of those examples or about the new hardware, namely the Echo Show 8, I believe, feel free to go back and check out the previous episode where we did discuss some of that. And there's actually some demos from the event where it actually demonstrates that chatting back and forth. And even I mentioned at the tail end of the episode a way that you can sign up to basically be notified when some of these new features come potentially here in the near future. And in fact, I might mention that again to you all today in case you didn't get a chance to hear that episode. Hey guys, just a quick post-production note. We're going to be hearing the name A-Lady a lot here in some of our demos and different things from the event, even though we don't have like an actual live demo. So if you do have an echo and hearing distance of this podcast, you may want to mute its ears. That way it doesn't get triggered. Okay, back to our show. But anyway, so back in episode 258, I theorized about some things. We had announcements from Google. We had some announcements from Meta. We had Amazon had started cutting back and taking out the Samuel L. Jackson voice, you might remember, and all the other voices started getting stripped out of the Echo. And you were kind of wondering, where are things going with this? And that's where I theorized a little bit about where I thought things should be going here in the near future. And let's actually go to a clip here of what I talked about in episode 258. Let's go to that. We're going to demonstrate an example of this on an app on an iPhone. Now, why? Because we're going to demonstrate potentially the future of what the A-Lady is going to be doing. And this may give us a little clue into some of those voices going away, like Samuel L. Jackson and stuff we talked about, because they're very likely going to be pushing these kind of concepts here in the fall, hopefully, with AI coming not only to the Google Assistant, but hopefully to the Amazon Echo and the A-Lady. And maybe that will blend in with voices and wake words and personalities and personas. Okay, so as you could see, that was kind of my theorizing back then. And now, what was actually announced at the Amazon event? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have it queued up right here. And we're going to take a little listen of what they talked about. Now, just kind of, we're jumping in the middle of a conversation here in the event where they were talking to developers about some of the things they could do with their skill development and interactions with the A-Lady. But I think you're going to find something very interesting that parallels what I was talking about back in episode 258. So let's cue that up now.
Investment, and it's why developers will soon be able to integrate their
Okay.
custom-built, purpose-built LLMs with Alexa. A great example of this is Character AI. Character AI allows you to easily create and interact with a variety of characters, including 25 or more personalities across categories, from skilled helpers like fitness coaches to icons throughout history like Socrates and Grace Hopper. These characters have expressive voices that have been built leveraging Amazon's in-house TTS technology.
I'm going to pause right here and say, nailed it, nailed it. Okay, I'm not going to take any more victory laps. Let's continue to hear what she has to say.
Those conversations will become more personalized over time as characters remember your conversations and adapt to your preferences.
Cool.
I think this is so cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to learn more about coding than from Grace Hopper? Another example is Splash, a music platform that's harnessing the power of generative AI to empower a new breed of musicians. Splash is connecting its AI-powered music creation technology with Alexa. Customers will be able to create and
Okay, so we'll pause here and actually we're going to rewind to a earlier event, part of the event, which actually demonstrated part of the voices here. So let me fast forward to that part of the event and then we'll drop right in. Okay, so this is a segment where it talks about how the AI and other improvements will affect the way our A-Lady will talk here in the near future. The realism, if you will. So let's jump into that.
Another thing, when you and I talk, what is said needs to match how we say it. Imagine if you're telling a joke to your friend, you have to deliver the punchline right. And if you deliver the timing perfectly, and with the right intonation and stress in your voice, you're Jerry Seinfeld. Or in my case, the originators of the best or worst dad jokes, depending on who you talk to in my home, and my daughter or my son. What we're making with this is the text-to-speech engine, or what we refer to as TTS, is now more context-aware of your emotions, your tone and voice, and then it's expressing the similar emotional variation in the output. And in this case, I truly believe hearing is believing. So let me take you back in time to 2014 when we introduced Alexa. People were blown away with the quality of the voice, as was I. But this is how it sounded, so let's take a look.
I love The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It depicts the view from his asylum room at Saint Remy de Provence just before sunrise, with the addition of an imaginary village. I like this painting because its vibrant use of colors captures a profound emotional intensity.
You already heard from Dave how Alexa sounds today, but here's the preview of what's going to come early next year.
I love The Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. It depicts the view from his asylum room at Saint Remy de Provence just before sunrise, with the addition of an imaginary village. I like this painting because its vibrant use of colors captures a profound emotional intensity.
All right, so I'm going to pause it. That was the end of that demo. Pretty substantial improvement. So, and then I really start to think about, if we can start having these characters as well, where we could possibly go with that. So I didn't want to make this episode too long, but that gives you just kind of a little synopsis of some of the things that you could possibly do. Now, I will mention again in this episode, if you would like to maybe get alerted when these new features are coming to your A-Lady device. I almost forgot one thing. Last week in the episode, we talked, you might have noticed they had this conversational style. And he wouldn't always say her name. It was almost like follow-up mode where she waits to listen for another directive. And I was always wondering how he triggered that. Did he have a remote control in his hand? Did he tell her to pause, by hitting that button on a remote or whatever? At the very beginning of this presentation, it explained how that worked and may be connected to needing new hardware potentially. I don't know for certain, but on the Amazon Echo Show that was originally demoed. You remember it had a camera on it and it had the ability to change its display based on how far you were away. It can make for example, the clock much bigger if you're all the way across the room, or if you're up close, it would make the clock tinier and maybe display more information on the screen with tinier font because it knows you're up close. Well, the aspect of that was connected with detecting your eye gaze, and I believe potentially even maybe your voice is projecting in that direction. But definitely the eye gaze he mentions here. And so he says that is connected to how she would interpret whether you are talking to her. Isn't that interesting? So in those examples he mentions, where he comes back and he asks something, he's looking at it and she can see that he's looking at her, and hence the question or the directive is to her. So very kind of interesting to see where that goes as well. Anyway, so if you'd like to get signed up potentially and you're in the United States, I don't know if this is going to other countries as well, but you would like to be alerted to this upcoming preview. Earlier in this event, which we demonstrated in part 1 of this, a phrase they often used is, "A-Lady, let's chat." And if you use that very phrase, "A-Lady, let's chat," she will explain that she can put you on notice basically for when some of these new features roll out. And who knows, maybe that she'll offer to sign you up for the preview program as it comes out. Anyway, so that is just basically wrapping up some of these points for today. I don't want to drag things out. We might be able to pull a few more nuggets from this event. But if you have any thoughts or suggestions for me or a future episode, by all means reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys. Or you can even email us, that old-fashioned email, right? And you can email us at info@goodwillvalleys.com. And that's got an S in it, valleys.com. And just earmark any of those messages, like if it's an email in the subject line or whatever, or on Facebook or Twitter, just say, I'm trying to direct this to Dave at New Vision or the Echo Tips podcast, host. And that way it will find its way to me. Well, until next time, it's time to turn the ears back on your Echo, which I kind of realized I forgot to tell you to do earlier, so my bad if they said the name a few times, or I know I did. Anywho, maybe I'll put a notation in this earlier. But anywho, if you have any thoughts or suggestions, we'd love to hear them. But until next time, it's time to turn the ears back on your Echo. Start practicing some of the many, many things you've heard. I'm David Ward for the New Vision program, and we thank you for listening.
Thanks, Dave. Let me tell you a bit more. Let me put on my official sounding voice. Ahem, ahem. This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision. Phew! Thanks for listening.